We are live in the Giving Garden.
Hi, Melissa, and
Hi, Elena.
hi, all of Grow Food Northampton community. I'm Elena, and yes, I'm with Melissa. We're in the Giving Garden. Actually, maybe you should stand there and I stand here, and then you can see the backdrop.
The bounty.
Yeah, the backdrop of what we've got going on here. It's a little, partly sunny today. I just came back from a really sweet canoe trip in the Adirondacks, and it's fun to see how fast everything grew in only like 3 or 4 days. And yeah, funny thing about the Adirondacks, turns out that June berries are ripe in July in the Adirondacks.
Oh.
Our June berries from episode, previous episode, and I sampled some June berries that were along some of the lakes that I was at.
Awesome.
But maybe they should be named July berries. So here we are at the Giving Garden.
Maybe June-lie.
Yeah. Here we are at the Giving Garden. We donate all this food to local community partners. Manna Community Kitchen, Starlight Center, East Hampton Community Center, and Northampton Survival Center. And we, thanks to Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare for making this happen. And we work with lots of volunteers multiple times a week. And we wanted to, first we just want to acknowledge this land that we're on, that we are farming. We have this parcel of land owned by Grow Food Northampton, and it's been stewarded by so many people before us. And to recognize that we're standing and working and tending to land that was stewarded by the Nipmuc and Pecumtuck people and the Naugatuck tribes that moved through this area and call this place home for thousands of years before white colonists came in. And then, during the abolitionist community era, during the 1830s, 1840s, this specific spot was very important on the Underground Railroad, and for a particular community, mixed race community that used this land to farm and called home and had meetings. And so one particular person I wanted to highlight this week is David Ruggles. There's a center right down the block called David Ruggles Center where they give tours and host events to share information about the local abolitionist history. And David, it's named after David Ruggles. He was born in 1810, and he was born to a not enslaved family, a free black family in Connecticut. And he was a mariner in New York. He in his early 20s, and he had a grocery store. Melissa, what is there something you want to say about him? Well, we were talking about how his grocery store was also a place to share reading material, and was like a bookstore and a library, because black people were not allowed to go into the New York Public Library system at the time, and so he was like the first black bookstore.
Yeah, and I was just saying that I love that idea of, bringing those two things together, where we feed our bodies and feed our minds and aren't compartmentalizing things, but bringing it together more.
Yeah, like a grocery store that was also a bookstore.
Love it.
So that was maybe the late 1820s,
and that was the first the first bookstore owned by an African American, I believe.
Yep. And so and then it was mobbed, actually, and so he was a really prominent and successful abolitionist who believed in practical abolitionism, where it was actually very important to get victims of human bondage out of bondage, and not just the philosophizing about a day when it would be great to have slavery not exist anymore. But, so he participated in freeing 600 people who were enslaved, over 600, on the Underground Railroad. And he was a friend of Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth. And he moved here to Florence in 1832 when he was already sick, and I think he had like suffered all these ailments because of what people did to him, and like several attempted lynchings and being beaten up for his actions of anti-slavery and his abolitionist work. Yeah, David Ruggles, and so you can learn more at David Ruggles, at the David Ruggles Center, who is our neighbor. I know I
So
point
we're
over there,
in
and
that
it's
direction.
useless to necessarily to film it, but I do point over there because they are right down there. And yeah, what else to say? Well, so I think that's our little snapshot. And so, and he lived here until his death in 1849, at a really young age, 39 years old. Yeah, and I get inspiration from hearing about someone like that who like just spent so much of his energy and effort of his life to do work that was so important to him and so important to the world, and had like such a clear purpose and cause.
Yeah, and making it, as we say nowadays, actionable, you know,
Yeah.
not just philosophy or feeling, but, you know, how to make it move.
Yeah, totally. And now to talk about some plants.
Yes.
We wanted to talk about garlic first, because garlic
Here's
is
our
such an
garlic.
amazing plant, and I know we have our backed up of garlic. We've talked about it before. I think we talked about our scapes, right? We talked about them once. And now, so mid to late July, that's like garlic harvest time. That's like height of the summer around here. And garlic harvest, well, it's gonna happen soon, maybe even tomorrow. And maybe I'll pull one out. Do you want to say something you remember or something? I don't know. There's different garlic harvest, and I highly recommend UMass Extension's Veg Notes. If you don't get the Veg Notes newsletter, I highly recommend it. Sometimes it's a little bit just for commercial farmers, but sometimes you can actually get some really good advice about garlic harvesting, for example. So this last week's newsletter, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, was all about garlic harvest and curing and storing, because those things are very important, because garlic is a crop that we want to like last for a long time.
And I'm just remembering as you're pulling that we cleaned garlic with the elementary schools this
Oh,
year
yeah.
at Crimson and Clover in the fall, which was awesome.
Right. That's what we did at Crimson and Clover, and yeah, because they were all getting a haircut. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all our garlic needs a little haircut. So this is our beautiful garlic bulb, and we saved the seed for this garlic. So it means that we're going to be picking the nicest and best bulbs to save for seed here. But it doesn't mean that the ones that we give away are so bad. They're just not the like finest.
So how do you save it for seed?
Yeah, how do we save it? Well, first we have to harvest it carefully and on the right day. It's okay. So see this one's totally brown. This one's sort of brown. I think that, so basically you want 60% of the plant to still be green. That's what Cornell Extension says. I think I could wait a little bit longer. The only problem with waiting a little bit longer is that then if it rains and it's been kind of wet recently, then we could like attract a lot of disease and the bloat nematode and the some kind of fungus, and there's just a lot of different things that could get to our garlic. And we want to make sure it doesn't have those things when we save it for seed. So earlier, if you want to err on the side of earlier, it's actually better than the side of later, and then you actually get these bulbs pop out of their skin. But we're not in danger of that yet. So yeah, and I think they look pretty formed. Oh yeah, so you can check it out. Our beautiful bulb. I could even open it, but I think I won't. So you want some green left, but you want these, and I think actually already one of them fell off, but you want a few brown sheaths. And this one could get a little bit browner, I think, but it's okay. And then you pick it, and they're kind of fragile like this, right? You don't want to be maybe smacking them. Sometimes I have the tendency to want to, like, there's all these dirt clods in there, and you want to smack them against each other to get the dirt out. But they're actually kind of fragile, so you could like increase the risk of a like infection or disease if you do that. So you can let the dirt just dry off in as you cure it. And I'm gonna cure it in a greenhouse. and I'm going to lay them all out flat on these pallets or screens, and I'm going to put a shade cloth over it, which is kind of like this mesh, black mesh cloth, so that it doesn't get too hot under there, but there's still a lot of airflow.
Okay.
So if you want to cure your garlic, it's really important to have good airflow. Some people hang them. I used to hang them. You can like get a bunch of them and hang them in bunches around a really, like drape them over maybe some kind of beam that you have. Maybe it's outside of your house. Maybe it's well, it has to be protected against rain.
Is that when you would braid it?
Oh, you don't braid hard neck garlic. You braid soft neck garlic.
Oh, okay.
So this is hard neck garlic. But you could still bunch them and then tie them with a string and then have 2 strings hanging over a beam. We used to do that in the shed, in the Giving Garden shed, but I like the greenhouse method better because really you just want as much airflow as possible, and yeah, that's the most important. I think the risk of getting too hot. I think you just don't want it to get to over like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. 110 degrees Fahrenheit is okay, according to UMass Extension.
All right.
Yeah, and they're so beautiful. And then after a few weeks of that, you cut it. I'm kind of forgetting the ideal length of cutting it, but I think something like that. And then you can give it a haircut. And as we just said, in the fall, so you can wait all the way into the fall to give them a haircut, or you can do it now because it helps the drying better. So I know people who cut now. It's just more work, you know. You have to figure out when you want to do the work.
What your timing is.
And if you want a group of 2nd graders to come trim them.
They are great.
They're great at it. They love to do it.
Yes.
But we might not have that opportunity this year anyway, so because we might be restricted in the kinds of field trips we are able to do. So
maybe we could send them some garlic anyway.
I know, maybe we could send them some garlic to give a haircut to.
Yeah.
So here's garlic. Yeah, there's a lot to think about it.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, we're back.
Sorry, our connection went out.
It's okay.
Bad Wi-Fi in the garden.
Yeah. So yeah, if people have questions about garlic, I'm always trying to learn too. So happy to answer your questions.
Or tips. We'll take
tips.
or
tips. Exactly. I know. There's many different ways that you can do it. And
comments. What you love about garlic.
Oh, let's go over here to talk about another plant that's growing. You can see our buckwheat is growing very fast.
Wow.
It looks so much taller than it did last week. It probably grew like, I don't know, 6-7 inches.
Definitely. There's our dill, standing tall.
No, it's our asparagus.
Oh,
but it looks very close to dill.
it does. It looks dillish.
Yes, but it is, yeah, our beautiful asparagus fronds.
Yes.
We can go to our other echinacea patch, but we have these little echinacea patches that I planted as part of our perennial block, and we want echinacea here as a pollinator, as like a beautiful thing to look at. I love the plant. Any things you like about echinacea?
It's super medicinal.
Yes.
Along with garlic, great immune booster.
In a different way, yeah. It's an immune booster, and the entire part of the plant is medicinal.
Yes.
The flower is medicinal.
Leaves.
Yep. Root.
All of it.
Just at different times of year, which is pretty amazing. Like the flower is medicinal when it's blooming. Actually, in the spring, before the flower blooms, then the leaf and the stem are medicinal. And then in the fall, the root is medicinal. And it's a perennial. That's also really cool. It grows back year after year. And I love echinacea. It's
Sarah
a beautiful
says
cone
it's a
flower.
great pollinator.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And it has this amazing, like, it's kind of like stiff. It's like a cone flower that's so stiff on the top. And these, and then we have some that are yet to bloom.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to talk about one other plant. Let's see if I can find it. I bet we can. Oh, here we go. End with a bang. Okay, this might be our cucumber row, right?
There it is.
We have hundreds of,
Yep.
we actually have
Here's
hundreds
part of our
pounds.
harvest here, squash,
Yep.
cucumbers.
We have a lot of cucumbers coming out of our vines right now, which is pretty amazing. Probably, yeah, hundreds of pounds a week, something like that. But I wanted to talk about one plant that's right here that grows
Anybody know what that is?
in the cucumbers.
It kind of looks like a baby jade plant.
Yeah,
It's a ground creeper.
yep, succulent. Sort of has this like mucilaginous, like juicy stem, juicy leaves like a jade plant. It's called purslane, and purslane is amazing. What you have? You want to say one of the things we learned about purslane?
Well, it seems like it's vastly underestimated weed. I mean, the things that we were learning about it, like there are so many benefits.
Yeah, you can eat it raw, as a salad, crunchy, cooling.
Tea,
Tea.
tincture.
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Also, pickled, fermented.
Yes.
Um,
Purslane pickles.
It's basically
Purslane.
it's one of the most nutritious wild foods. It has omega-3 fatty acids in it, which hardly any plant vegetable
Yeah.
has any necessary fats in it. So it has these necessary fats in it. It has calcium, magnesium, different kinds of nutrients. I was just at the tip of the iceberg about what purslane has to offer. I have never fermented with it before. I've never made like purslane cabbage or purslane pickles, but that's definitely something I'm going to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other thing about purslane? It's just amazing. It grows kind of, creeper, spreader. It can be left on the ground. I mean, I like to have my paths clear, and I know that feeling of wanting to just see the plant that I'm growing and cultivating. But if we adapted our minds to believe in having ground creepers next to the plants that we want to grow, what's to say that I can't have a cucumber row with purslane growing as a ground cover, and then I'll be able to harvest both of them.
Yeah. Would it take away from the cucumber plant, or will it complement it?
That is interesting. I don't know. It might complement it. They grow, but it also might take nutrients away from the cucumber. But it definitely wants to grow here. We have it a lot. It's a really heat-loving, summer-loving plant. And I look forward to learning more about it, because I didn't know until this year about the omega-3 fatty acids, and I know that's something that people are trying to find. People tell you to eat fish, people tell you to eat spinach or things like that, and this I think it was like I think found Roman Empire food. I think the first use of it dates back to like 4,000 years ago, and it was a food in the Roman Empire.
Yeah, it seems like it just kind of fell out of favor and became, got a bad rap as a quote unquote weed,
Yeah.
and people lost sight of all the awesome benefits of it.
Yeah, totally. So much that it has to offer. Okay, well, I just wanted to end with purslane, and and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Elena.
Yeah, bye, Melissa.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.